16th of August in this year, 2020. I too welcome and thank you so much for choosing to be with us on yet another very good day. It is a Tuesday, and of course it is where we are. Picking it up from where the Good Morning Uganda team left it, Ruben Impima Chivirango with the Good Morning Uganda Sports, and now delving into the other issues, of course, that also concern us. It's just another very lovely day, and we thank you so much. And now, let me just get into the conversation of discussion this morning. I'll start by introducing His Worship Johnson Karemani, the spokesperson of the Judiciary. You're very welcome, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Jagenda, and good morning, our viewers. Once again, we are here to have a discussion, and we hope we shall add some value on whatever you'll be viewing. Thank you very much. Okay,
I'm happy to have you, and I'm so honored that whenever you come to studios, that's your seat there. I do not know this floor manager has actually arranged it that whenever you're coming in, that's where you're supposed to sit. Ms. Lustra Dira from the Criminal Advisor, a Government and Security Secretariat. You're also very welcome. Happy to have you in studios.
Thank you. Good morning, viewers.
Very good to have you too in studios, and of course my sister Wakoli here also from the DPP's office, Assistant Director of Public Prosecutions. Welcome, Summary.
Thank you so much, and good morning, our dear viewers.
Okay, very importantly, the issue that I want us to talk about here today is, of course, access to justice, especially when we talk about issues that concern you very well, and these issues to do with SGBV, what we call sexual-based gender violence, very long names and all the things. Start with you. Welcome, and of course that's what it is. This morning I was actually coming and I was listening to radio, and there was this little girl from, I think, Chotera or somewhere, a 14-year-old was forced, I think, into marriage and lots of things. And the parents are saying, okay, it was because this and that, let them go. That's the country we're living in. What's the situation like?
To our dear viewers, we are grateful for this opportunity. When you talk about sexual gender-based violence, we are looking at an offense that encompasses many things that are there. But to be specific with sexual violence, we are looking at violation of somebody's rights. We are looking at violation of somebody's future. If a child was in school and they were abused sexually, chances are that they will become pregnant before their days of getting pregnant. So we are looking at a situation where we need to protect our children, keep them in the schools, and ensure that we have a bright future for them, and have a future where children are going to take over from us. They will not take over from us when they were spoiled when they were young, or when they are giving birth to children. We want a situation where children are not giving birth to fellow children. We have a situation where children are protected in the society. They are able to exercise their rights. They are able to stay in school, and they are able to support their parents in their old age. So we are focusing on protection measures, and we are also focusing on access to justice. We are looking at issues of protecting our children. But should anybody abuse them, what should we do? And how do we ensure that we give this child another opportunity in life? Yes.
Thank you very much. Your Worship, let me come to you. And of course, it now just comes to you as the custodians of justice in this country. There are so many people are exposed to this kind of violence that my sister Samaria is talking about. And at the end of the day, is we think, or it should be, that there is justice for there is justice when we see these perpetrators getting their way here and there and lots of things. I just want to hear from you what you are doing, how you are dispensing this kind of justice, and that trust that the rest of us should actually have, that when this thing happens to us, we can run to justice and actually find justice that is justice indeed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jagenda, and our viewers. She has given a background of what we all aim at achieving. But we have to understand that yes, we are aiming at achieving it, but we have some limitations. the limitations we have at the system is that sometimes we don't achieve what we would want to achieve because we don't have what we require. Now, one of that is the limited number of the human resource and other resources. So we find that we cannot deliver in time as it should be. When those cases occur, our wish would be that if it is possible, within 5 months, they should be out of the system. And that's how we would feel that the victims have achieved the justice. But because of those shortcomings, we find that we cannot do it. So we sit back and find out what is it that can we do in order to at least try to give the justice that should be there. So when we look at the cases that we have as a system, we start prioritizing. And that's how we come up with this kind of arrangement that the cases which involve such children, sexual-based gender violence cases, we look at them as a priority. They should not be delayed. If there was to be a delay, it should not be these cases. So we come up with a way of how to dispose them, and that's why you find that we arrange special sessions, like the ones we are about to have, because we feel these are cases which should be expedited. They should be expedited despite our limitations that we have as a system. So that's why we have come up with these sessions, and we are happy that when we put up our case there, we get support from partners and as well as government. So we have got partners like UNFPA who feel that what we are putting across is a pertinent issue, and they come up to support it. The government also realizes that what we are saying is a pertinent issue, they come up to support it. So we are coming up with these sessions because if we are able, and we are able to dispose cases in the time that we require, we wouldn't be doing this. But because we can't do it, we come up with sessions as a priority. So we are going to have, first we are having 5 High Court sessions and 2 Chief Magistrates Court sessions. We have already identified the sites where they will be. And these will be in Tororo. We have Bushenyi, we have Kamwenge, we have Nebi, we have Kamuli. Those are High Court sessions. And then we shall have the Chief Magistrates Courts at Padel and Kayunga. Now, we choose these areas because sometimes we want to come nearer to the victims' places. Instead of them moving to look for the High Court where it is sitting, the High Court is brought nearer to them. So that's why you hear some of those new names which you have not heard about hosting High Court sessions, because we want the judge to go down there and the victims walk a shorter distance to the court, and then they are able to give their evidence. So those are the sites we have identified. All along we have been doing these sessions. This is what we call now phase 5, meaning we have done phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and phase 5. So that's how far we have come, and of course, if it was possible, we would have had a special court to deal with these cases. But another question that comes up is, we have realized that these are the cases which dominate our cause list. If you have a cause list of capital offenses, like 100, you'll find these cases cover like 70%. So if you are to have a special court, it means you will have all the cases now migrated to one court. So it is a debate that is ongoing, and these sessions are helping us to understand it well. So we hope to come up with a better, something that is going to be a future solution to this.
Okay, thank you. Lucy, you know, the criminal justice system has always come under scrutiny by different persons, and at the end of the day, we Ugandans tend to see justice in this country as a travesty, as a mockery of sorts or something like that. What kind of quality justice do you think needs to be dispensed now as a criminal advisor, governance and security issues, to ensure that when somebody comes to justice, when they run to the courts of laws, they actually, they have the confidence, like somebody going to the hospital, knowing that because I am sick, I may die in the hospital, but let me go to the hospital because I'm sure I'll get treated in the hospital. We want to have that same feeling when we run to Ndugu Karemani here.
Yeah, thank you, Jagenda. The issue of quality is what we are now focusing on. Since 2018, we've been doing these sessions, and we started with the issue, we wanted to reduce, we still do want to reduce case backlog, but we have learned lessons, we have picked some good practices, and over time we are realizing that yes, there are numbers, but what are the numbers of those cases about? Is the victim receiving justice? And what is justice to a victim? But we're also looking at it from a human rights-based angle, that there's also an accused person. And that accused person also has to receive justice. And what's the quality of justice that is that accused person receiving? And then we have witnesses, the people that come to us to help us get the evidence that we require to have an outcome for that case. What is quality to them?
To all of them.
Yes, so I always tell people that a criminal justice system that is loved by all is a failed criminal justice system. And I'll tell you why.
It's not achievable.
Yes, because there are so many actors that have different needs, that have different interests, that have different perceptions. You have a person that was violated for the case of SGBV. That person has different needs. It could be medical. Most times, actually, justice comes at the end of the need of a victim. It's medical, it's being restored to the position that they were in before they were violated, which is almost impossible, but it is also having an environment that they are protected from being re-traumatized. It is being protected from being stigmatized in the community. And then you have us, the justice actors, the state attorneys, the judges, the lawyers. What is it that they need from the system? The judge needs a court where he can get the evidence. The state attorney needs an environment where she or he is able to get the evidence from their witness.
And prosecute.
The lawyer is also in a situation where he's defending the accused person and hoping that this accused person will be acquitted. And then we have the country that has to be in a peaceful coexistence where it is violence and crime-free. And so we have all those elements that then inform what quality is. And so as His Worship has said, we have disposed over the last 4 sessions, we have disposed of over 2,700 cases in 22 high courts and 14 chief magistrates courts. The UNFPA, together with Swedish Embassy and the EU Spotlight Program, have funded us consistently, and we thank them. Now, they have put in over 7.7 billion shillings. Justice is expensive. Quality justice is even more expensive. Now, how do we ensure that, one, we prevent? Because once we don't get the cases, then we will not expend. But then once they come into the system, how do we ensure that the outcomes are good for both the victims and the accused persons, and also we ensure that we have peaceful coexistence in the community.
But very important. Now, it brings me to my sister Wakoli here now from the prosecution angle, where you are. Normally it starts with you, because this thing has happened in the community and maybe the people do not know. Then the other thing is run to police, get to police, and then of course when all the pleas are done, then it comes to you before you send everything to Justice Karemani's court there. And normally you are put to a fault as prosecution, either by not doing the right things in terms of investigations and doing all the things, and maybe before it actually gets there, but because by the time it gets there, then we are hoping that all the pleas were done very well here. And so it comes back to you, prosecution. How is it? And like you say, we are different players, the community, the lawyer, the perpetrators, the victims, and everybody in there. But it comes to you now, the government prosecution, to ensure that actually we are getting quality justice from the system. How is it with you?
When an offense of sexual violence has occurred, the first thing the mother does is make an alarm. When they make an alarm, the villagers come gather.
Neighbors come.
Everybody wants to see what has happened. That alone
Kills
violates,
evidence.
kills evidence. And it not only kills evidence, but also affects this child. Imagine the whole community now knows
that this girl has been raped.
This girl has been defiled, or this girl has been abused by so and so. It's not good for the child. It is also not good for their well-being, and it is also not good for their future. Because now when they go back to school, the rest that they live with in that village will go gossiping about them. So it affects them, and it causes what we call trauma to this child. So many times now when a case is reported, in a bid to protect the child, you'll find that the parents will not want to report the case, which is not right. And then also you'll find that probably the parents don't want to follow up also the case and come to court and testify, which is also not right, because now they are thinking about themselves, but now we also need to give justice to this person who was violated. And because of that, now as the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, in exercising our core mandate under Article 120 of the Constitution, we have to make sure that we follow up these cases right away from when they are being reported to when prosecution is now being done. At ODPP, we established a department that I head. That is the Department of Gender, Children and Sexual Offences. One of our core mandates is also to focus on quality. So we work with the police on what we call prosecutor-led investigations, and we guide police on what quality of evidence that we are going to gather, such that by the time I go to court, I know that I have clean evidence, and I'm going to ensure that I am going to get a conviction. We also focus on victim support and protection, and in this way we have come up with mechanisms that will ensure that these witnesses are protected. You know, in sexual violence we have adults, the women who are raped, that is the offense of rape, but then we also have cases of defilement, and unfortunately majority of the victims are children, and that's why I'm talking about children, but we also have adults who are also abused. And when we talk about sexual violence, we are not only looking at women, we also have men, we have boys, and then girls.
Gender does not mean women.
Gender does not mean
many
women,
people want to think.
like many people want to think. So we are focusing also on people who have disabilities also, who are very vulnerable in the community. We have also the older women. We have young men who don't want to go and talk to a young woman and woo them for a sexual act. They want to force themselves on an old woman. And
vulnerable old women.
Vulnerable old women, and those people also need to be protected. So we also have another department of witness protection and empowerment. So in as much as we don't have a witness protection law, we as an office know that I cannot prosecute a case successfully without witnesses. So we have made it very intentional that we work towards ensuring that we have safety of our witnesses and also safety of the evidence. So we protect the witnesses, and when they come, like for example on a day of court, if I have children, I don't leave them to sit in court where the perpetrators will come and abuse them or look at them with funny eyes. We have child-friendly spaces where we keep them at our offices. Then at such a time they go to court and testify. We also receive sometimes young mothers. Sometimes court takes a long time, from morning up to evening. For such mothers, I'll have an extra pamper for their child, such that when the child is uncomfortable because of having been in one pamper the whole day, we can change the pamper of this child and then enable the mother stay longer at court and then be able to testify in court comfortably. We also are looking at issues of persons with disabilities, and also when we look at children, they easily express themselves by illustration as compared to the talking, because their verbal communication is developing. We came up with anatomically detailed dolls that they can use as illustration tools when they are in court to illustrate how this sexual act took place and how it happened. And you see that with ease, court is able to record the evidence, and at the end of the day, we are able to get a good good result. How are we getting this good result? I'll show you from when we started these sessions, the first time as the prosecution office, we got a 64% convictions. Now in the next phase, we were at 70% conviction rate. And then when we go to the third phase, we were at 74% conviction rate. So we are improving every single day, and we know that as we improve on our conviction rate, we are contributing to fighting sexual and gender-based violence, because in our country, our GBV policy gives us three things. We have to work on prevention, we have to work on response, and we have to work on ending impunity. And when I talk about high conviction rates, we are talking towards ending impunity.
Yes. Okay, very, very good, and I think you've well elaborated it. Justice Karemani, coming to your worship, she just talked about quality. My sister Lucy talked about quality and said we are different players, and all of us at the end of the day want to receive this quality. But I also want to understand it from now, a layman's angle, what justice means to all of us. For example, a 16, 14, 13-year has been defiled, and at the end of the day, she's actually pregnant. 9 months later, she's a child mother with a baby. Now, there is a process of prosecuting the perpetrator, and it tarries for eternity almost. By the time it gets there, now maybe it's time for Justice Karemani to deliver justice, or to give a conviction to this man. But there's this little girl who was 13, she's 14 now, with a 1-year-old baby. And to them is, I now have a child who should be having a father. Now it's a wrong thing that we already have a child mother, but she's now having a baby from another very vulnerable family. And the man who would be now the father is being sent to a prison facility somewhere. And so what is justice to this child mother with a mother whose monster does and dash is actually in prison? I just want us to understand what happens to all this, and what quality, what sort of quality justice is this?
Thank you very much, Jagenda, for that question. Now, that is the whole idea of what we are saying, how we should expedite the hearing of these cases. Those are some of the challenges that come up when we overdelay to dispose these cases. Those situations are common in hearing of those cases, because sometimes the girl who has produced that kid does not want the father of the kid actually
to go to prison.
Some situations have happened where the case is being heard in court and the child runs from the mother to the father in the dock. So, and as court, you are there watching all these scenes taking place. So, definitely they have an effect on how the decision has to go. But the ultimate goal is to ensure that justice is realized for both the accused and the victim. And we also have got to fight the crime. Despite all that, there is a crime which has been committed.
Yes.
The crime has been committed. And as we meant out the punishment, it has several things that it has to achieve. One, the person who did wrong must get the punishment. The second idea is that those who would have committed the crime, they should learn from this and know that it's
a deterrent.
You can't do it, and it is a deterrent. You can't do it and go away with it. Because if you become sympathetic and people learn that when it happens like this, you give a lenient sentence, it will become a sin. People will create drama so that you give them lenient sentences. So as court, you must have all that at the back of the mind. You must have it at the back of the mind, but they have an effect on what sentence will be given. Courts have also powers to give, they give orders. If there are children like that, the court will give order on how the child should be taken care of. Sometimes they can give damages. They can order that a child should be looked after in this manner. So court gives orders to ensure that justice is not only done to the victim and the accused, but also the result of the...
Exactly, because that's now a very big concern.
Yeah, there is a third person in this.
Crime.
There is a third person in all this. So as the sentence is being given out, as the orders are being given, that person has to be taken into account on how to make sure that the person grows up and becomes a good Ugandan. Yes.
Okay, and maybe Lucy here come in as an advice, of course, because you know when we do what my sister Samali is talking about is she wants to get as many convictions as she can from all these criminal offences of criminal acts. But at the end of the day, of course, Lucy, Samali will say, out of all these many cases, we prosecuted so many and we handed so many convictions. So we are actually doing and we dispensing justice. But I'm also looking at now the persons, because you know we're dealing with a criminal system, a criminal justice system. It's not a civil thing where it's not a tort thing where we'll look at each other and say, compensate, pay them and get there. Because once she manages to send this man or woman to jail, then she's made her thing work. But how about this other person? And even when Justice Karemania talks about the orders, but I want to understand the justice on the part of this other girl, this other maybe young boy, or this other very vulnerable woman who was raped by, from that angle. What is justice to them?
What is justice to them? Justice is different things to different people. And over time, we see, we had a post-session review meeting. As part of these sessions, we review what we have done every year. After we complete the sessions, we review. And one of the things that came out, I think it was the judge who handled the session, you know, 2K. And he highlighted the issue of culture. It's a challenge to us in the justice system. That culture looks at things differently from the way the justice system looks at it. And it is more restorative in nature than punitive. But also, there's an angle to the defilement, sexual and gender-based cases that we are handling, and that's one thing we've learned over the last 4 years, that most of them are committed within the communal setting.
Exactly.
It's within the family, it's within the neighborhood, it's within
closest
that
neighbors,
setting.
closest relatives.
And so increasingly you realize for the cultural aspect, it will be to restore. It will be to compensate. And the justice system works differently. As he has said, it is that someone has to recognize that what they did was wrong. It is to the fact that there's somebody who has been violated and that person needs justice in whichever form that justice is. And as you said, the criminal justice system is not like the civil justice system. And unless a law makes provision for compensation or a fine, the punishment is imprisonment for whatever time is prescribed under the law. Now, how about that child that is a result of this offense? How about that girl who was maybe school going, who maybe had that child and developed fistula, who as a result of giving birth lost a lot of time and opportunity to move forward? Now, how does the justice system ensure that it captures all these different aspects? And that's where we have had discussions, and the principal judge was guiding that, you know, we need to inform the community. We need to do more sensitization. We've got to let them understand what the justice system is able to do, what it is not able to do, and why we need to follow the path of justice. That there are things that culture will not address. Culture may not address impunity. It will not address the fact that, yes, this person committed defilement or raped somebody, and 2-3 days later is back into the community. What does that teach the boy that is growing up? What does that speak to the girl that is 4 or 5 years old? Is that somebody can violate her and go away with it? No. The justice system says that you have to be accountable. Accountable for your actions. There's the responsibility angle to it. The way we handle that responsibility may not be the way the culture or the community handles it, but it works for the betterment of the society, for a peaceful coexistence. Yes.
Okay. Samuel, you talked about something very crucial here and saying when an act happens, of course, the mother will make noise, and the next thing is the neighbors and everybody come in and do all the things, but it will continue like that. And I think they don't even know what they should be doing. In such situations, if we will dispense justice and quality justice, what needs to be done, as you know, the primary things to do? Because it happens and nobody plans or prepares that someday when my daughter is defiled, this is how I should act. Now it is just a spontaneous act that happens, and maybe you do not know, you're in the garden, you get a call, you're at the well, you are there, you are winnowing and doing anything, and you just hear this man who maybe carries your daughter to school every day has actually done this, or you come back home and the man has done it, gone away, and the baby's here. What should they do to make sure that they also help your investigations and of course your prosecution, that you can dispense very clean and quality justice? All right.
One thing I need our viewers to understand is that when we talk about offenses of sexual gender-based violence, the perpetrators are not strangers. They are people who are very well known to the victims. They just choose to abuse the trust that is there and then turn on the vulnerability of the victim and abuse them. The perpetrators we have, or the ones that we normally prosecute, are not bystanders or people walking on the streets. It is the father defiling their own child. It is the uncle who is staying in that home who decides to abuse sexually the daughter of the sister. It is that big boy in the home who turns on the young boy in the home and abuses them sexually. So they are not strangers. And when we talk about culture and protection, picking up from what Lucy was saying, these people will also require protection, because if you release this person or you go and settle it in the community and the cows are paid and it is settled, the perpetrator is going back to the same home to where this child is living. What happens to this child? She's already in fear, or he is already in fear. You can't put them in the same home and they continue living, because this is not a harmonious home anymore, where you find the father abusing the children. It is not a home anymore. It is some sort of like a strange place, but it can't be called a home, because one person feels abused insecure, while the other feels they are more powerful. Now, what should we do should such an incident happen? Report to police. Let police carry out investigations. Avail all the relevant information to police. If it is possible, lock the room such that people who are coming from outside will not come and interfere with the evidence in the room. Then after that, we will be invited in as prosecutors. We will guide on prosecution and on collection of the evidence, and then also we will see and assess the needs of our witnesses. Are they being threatened by the communities? Most times it may not be the victim themselves. For example, if it is the father who defiled the mother, who defiled the daughter, the relatives of the father will come for the mother and they will say, you are the one who is responsible for keeping our son in prison. And they will threaten now the mother. So the mother, in trying to keep herself safe, she also hides away the child. When the time for sessions like this comes and we have summoned you to come to court, kindly come to court and testify, because without your evidence, without me telling the court your story through you, people will not understand that an offense was committed. So we want, as we go for this 5th phase of these sessions, we want to call upon all our victims. We will contact you by phone. We will also send somebody to come and bring summons. But please, don't hide away the children, because the person who was abused was the child. You as the mother, or as the father, or as the uncle, as the guardian or the caretaker of this child, bring that child to us. At court, we have mechanisms to ensure that you are safe and protected. We can even talk to court and cause the child to testify without necessarily seeing the perpetrator, testifying behind the camera. We can also keep them in a safe place until such a time that the evidence has has been given. And then after that, once you come, we get to understand the needs of this particular witness. And it is based on the needs that we can ask for other orders now from court. The law allows prosecution to ask for compensation, and we have been able to ask for compensations, and court has always given these orders, and we follow them up and we execute them for the welfare of the victims.
I think you make a lot of work for Justice Karimani. Lucy, have you encountered situations where there are negotiations between the families and the perpetrators, justifying, they take it as a civil thing and to say, oh, okay, she's our daughter, but what we do now, let this man come to us, let's talk, see what you can actually give us, and haven't you encountered such issues, and what happens in such situations?
Yeah, many years ago I used to be a state attorney in the office of the DPP, and that's one of the challenges that we face. And when we then go to court and there's a dismissal or an acquittal, it's very hard to explain to the public that the victim didn't come, that the witnesses actually did not turn up. And we had a testimony of Otuke where the judge said that 39% of the cases that were listed for trial failed for that very reason.
39%?
Yes.
39 cases out of 100 cases?
Yes. Failed. We are listing 50, but that was the percentage that he gave us. That these people went and negotiated and decided to have...
They shouldn't go to court. They
shouldn't. Exactly. So when you have such a scenario, and as Samali said, we can't prosecute a matter when we don't have somebody to tell the story. The prosecutor does not tell the judge the story. It is the victim, it is the witnesses that tell the story. And so when you have these scenarios of negotiation, it reflects badly on us at the end of the day, and it also creates that environment of impunity. And sometimes these accused persons, most times they will start the negotiation. Their family contacts the family of the other person and say, you know what, this doesn't have to be going to court, we can pay so much money. But justice is more than about the money. It is about the life of a boy or a girl that has been prematurely halted because they were violated. The other day, one of the judges shared with us a story of a family where 3 boys had been sexually abused by the male house manager. And so the mother was crying, she didn't know what to do. The prosecutor was crying, and the judge said she had to adjourn the matter because she was also about to cry. And then somebody comes and tells you, you know, let's negotiate. And she gave us, she said those boys, those children that had been sexually abused, were actually doing it even to other children now in the school. How do you negotiate such a matter? Because this child is not going to be the same again. It's going to take a lot of effort, a lot of counseling, a lot of money to ensure that, one, this child, the innocence of this child is repaired, but also that this child is not going to become a perpetrator, because usually that's what happens. The children that are abused later become abusers themselves. So they've lost their innocence. We are creating a system where violence is seemingly to be patted on the back because you can negotiate and go back and do it again and negotiate. So we have to have a balance. That, you know, it's not about negotiation, it's about accountability, it's about the fight against impunity, and that justice has to be done.
Justice Karimani, even with the convictions, do we see the impunity being curtailed? Do we see the impunity being managed? Because at the end of the day, it's doing all the things that you're sending people to prisons, they are flooded in all these prisons, but yet again, this is still living with us. Is what you're doing helping us to maybe manage or even stop the vice?
Thank you very much, Jagenda. Yes, we have handled cases, we are giving punishments, and we are saying the statistics keep growing. So we are asking ourselves, why are we not getting it right? There are several explanations that can be given. Population growth and all that. But we feel that we have to use different approaches. And one of them is what Madame Russe said, of sensitization. We have got to tell people that it's how do we protect our children, that's one. And also to tell the perpetrators that it is a very serious matter. If you commit an offense of defilement, what is the punishment? For aggravated defilement, the maximum punishment is death. You can be sentenced to death. If it is rape, you can be sentenced to death. If it is simple defilement where the child is above 14 years but below 18, it is life imprisonment. So what we are talking about, people need to understand that they are not simple matters, they are very serious. So with sensitization possibly, and as we sensitize our people in the communities, maybe they will understand that these are serious matters. We can do sensitization so that we reduce on committing of these crimes, rather than for us waiting to have them committed and then we prosecute and all that. So we are using all angles to ensure that we see how to combat this problem.
Okay, and we talk about this fifth session. You called it fifth session?
Fifth session.
The fifth phase. Yes. Remind us again. When is it? Where is it? And because people need to know. I'm only thinking about somebody who could have just come on TV now.
We actually flagged off the sessions.
Okay.
Today 15, yesterday 15th,
yes.
They were flagged off to start. But of course, as they go to start, they have different things they have to do. The judges have got to meet the stakeholders, the state attorneys have to mobilize their witnesses. So the sessions are set to begin.
Okay.
They are set to begin. That's why we are here to appeal to the players who include the public. Because like she said, we need witnesses, and the witnesses are in the public there. Our people will be appearing on various radio stations to mobilize people. They will be reading the cause lists. So when people hear their names, and
all the cause lists will be read on radio.
Will be read on the radios. Okay. Those who are so that people
those
can
who are
know.
cause listed to know.
Exactly. So that because
people can actually even remind them.
Yeah.
We had your name on radio.
We had your name on the radio.
Go to court.
Exactly. So we want to use all those approaches to ensure that these sessions are a success. So we call upon people that they cooperate, because we are all players in this.
So the areas are the high courts of Tororo.
Yes, that was also important. People need to know.
Of Kamwenge, of Nebi, and Kamuli.
Those are high
at
courts
High
now.
Court. And then the Chief Magistrates Court will be Pader and Kayunga for this phase. And then I think in October we do another 7 in other areas.
How many cases are you looking at to manage in that period of time? And how long is the session itself, the phase?
It's 45 days.
It's 45 days.
And in those 45 days, we are expected to dispose of 50 cases.
Okay.
Yes.
In each court.
In each court.
50 cases in each court.
Yes, for 45 days.
7 courts?
Yes.
Yes.
There are 7 courts?
Yes.
Oh, then that's a good number. That's about 3,050. 350.
Yeah, but the total number will be 14 in 14 courts at the end of this phase 5.
Or 14 courts. Okay.
Which makes it 700.
Yes.
700
okay.
in total.
Okay, well, time is running out. Let me hear now final parting shots from I'll start with you, Samali, for the people. Rally the people again and let's know what they are supposed to be doing.
We would want to call upon all our Ugandans. If you know that you ever reported a case to police, kindly come and visit our offices. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, in all the districts they have mentioned, we have an office there.
Not every case, but these particular cases, sexual-based violence.
Yes, but our people out there normally refer to us as the Office of the State. So we are requesting all of you, please come to the Office of the State or Office of the State Attorney. Every day in the morning, in our state, took up office here. State taliyo. So once you come in the morning, please go and meet a person in our office, tell them that I have come as a witness in this matter, and then we will be able to prepare them for the court in the morning, brief them about what court is before we actually go to court. We don't want to go with a witness who doesn't know what court is. We want to deal with the expectations in the morning. So come early in the morning, let us go through what you said at police, remind ourselves, because time has gone. So we will need time with you. We remind ourselves of what happened, and then we go to court when we are smart. We don't want to see criminals walking on the streets just because we did not talk about this or we did not agree well. So kindly come in the morning, let's talk about this. If you have any specific challenges, please let our state attorneys know, and we'll be able to support you through, and then we can be able to make sure that all those who are doing wrong are kept away from the communities.
Okay, thank you very much. Ladira, Luz, finally.
Yeah, I want to reiterate the call by Samali. Please come. Your transport refund is available.
Oh, there is also transport refund.
Yes.
Oh, that's very good.
For those that are witnesses.
We hadn't talked about that.
But also as a best practice, we have agreed that for children that need a support system, a support person with them, whether it's an auntie, whether it's a neighbor in the court, we have allowed those persons to come and sit with that child in court, and we are providing resources for that person to sit with the child. We have also provided adequate resources to ensure that the environment is safe for you. And also we are sending out probation and social welfare officers in the community to the homes of these victims. What we want is for them to collect information on what the impact of the crime was to you, what the impact of the crime was to your family, was to the community. Please provide that information. The information is feeding the state attorney to ask for an appropriate sentence. It's a new thing we are doing, but please, the probation officer will come, but we've also facilitated them to be able to maybe provide some sort of counseling and just to talk to your family as they collect this information. The prisons, we have provided food for them during the court time, that they will not stay in court the whole day and they are not able to feed. The same thing with all the witnesses. We have trained our actors. We had a post-session review meeting. We have learned lessons. We have identified good practices which we have shared with all the actors. The principal judge has issued guidelines that is going to guide all the actors to ensure that there is a victim-friendly, gender-sensitive and trauma-informed approach that we are going to use to dispense justice. So please ensure that you attend. We will be sensitizing, and we will do all we can to ensure that we prevent, but also we respond to aspects of gender-based violence.
Thank you very much. Now, my producer just shared the number of responses very late, and a few concerns are coming in here from the public. Somebody here says, witnesses always let us down, and when summoned by the police, at times the police follow them down, but they hide away. We need to resolve the culture. We need to, I think, involve actually the cultural leaders in this fight when sensitizing the local people to understand. Now, this person speaks like, I think, a police officer or something, something like that, but there's no name. But he says the witnesses let us down when we actually call them to help us. Good morning. The discussion is really very good, but the panel and the questions are dwelling much on sexual offences and rape and defilement and the other parameters, such as the cultural or the others are forgotten. Now, this man is called Paula Pua from Karenga in Karamoja. Karenga, we actually talk about these issues. We weren't talking about all the justice from where it starts. We're not talking about robbery, we're not talking about treason, we're not talking about all the things. The conversation has been limited to sexual offences. So you had us right, and that's where we are. Don't say the panel is only talking about these offences. The panel actually came to talk about these same offences, and we're happy that you've actually followed the conversation. Before I come to Justice Karimani, another one here says, could you please extend the same services to Gomba, Madumpiji, courts, Enos wants to have the services to them. Somebody here says, thank you so much for the program. I request for the contacts of the people in studios to help me over the domestic violence and the threatening of violence. I think, I don't know whether she or he is being threatened, but they need to know how to actually contact you out of the studios. And finally, somebody here says, I am Chelangat Dennis, and to me, justice delayed means justice denied. Chelangat says, that's what I think. Good morning, Mr. Jagan and the team in studios. One thing that I fail to understand is when we talk about sexual gender-based violence, we tend to ignore the aspect of boys going through the same challenges, and also the many young boys who have been defiled and are silent. This is Ayam Osuga Rasul, the Speaker of Arua Central Division in Arua City. But I think, Mr. Speaker, sir, Lucy has actually talked about this, and I think involved the male gender in the conversation. There are many questions coming in and many concerns. What I think you can do is share the contacts that people can actually follow you and know what to do. I'll end with you, Justice, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. I want to add my voice to my colleagues to appeal to the people whom we need in these sessions. Let them take it serious that we have to join hands in fighting crime. Let them turn up in these sessions. As we do these sessions, we are doing other things to ensure that justice is accessed. In this, we shall be seeing in the newspapers or in the other media that there has been reshuffles and deployments of judges. We have seen some areas like Moroto having a resident judge for the first time. So as you have a resident judge in Moroto, and as we also start hearing criminal cases on a daily basis, you will find that access to justice will now improve. The people of Moroto will now be able to present their cases so fast because they have a resident judge. So many other areas have got judges being deployed for the first time. So as we do these sessions, we are also looking at how best we can improve access to justice for our people.
Thank you very much. Samali, any number to share?
I wanted to share an email in case they wanted to meet us, but then also we are in all our offices, so the one who is in Gomba, they can visit our resident state attorney's office. In Gomba, and then also in Impigi. At Impigi, we also have a regional office there. We have 16 regional offices across the country, and then we also have district offices. So any of those offices, once you approach them, they should be able to offer you the necessary support. But in case you want to write to us, you can write to admin@dpp.go.ug, and then you can also meet us on all our social media handles. They are active people who are our public relations officers who can receive any complaint and attend to it. Yes.
Thank you very much. Finally, somebody here who has no name says, thank you so much, comrades, for the very good, important discussion. I am just a concerned community activist. And I would just suggest very humbly that if someone is put on firing squad, maybe it would be a very good deterrence at what is happening. So somebody is actually saying we move from just handing people sentences to go to court and find a way of firing them publicly. And if anybody sees it, will say, no, don't tamper with somebody's child because the end for you won't be the best. But I thank you so much. Thank you so much, Your Worship, Karemani Jameson, Public Relations for the Judiciary of Uganda. Thank you so much, my sister, Lucy Ladira. And thank you so much, Samali Wakoli, from the office of the DPP. My name is Jagana Semakola Ziksoka, just wishing you all the best and thanking you for being with us here today. And of course, too, I say that listen to the call, do what you need to do, go to all these courts, especially in the areas that they just talked about. Tororo, Bushenyi,
Kamwenge,
Nebi, Kamwenge,
and Kamuli.
Then of course Kayunga and Pader. Thank you very much. We'll stop it here for now. God bless you. Good morning. Shalom. Thank you.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.